Have you ever wondered why some women leave a mark on a man's soul, so deep, he carries it long after she's gone, while others, no matter how loving, how beautiful, fade like a forgotten dream? It's not about charm, it's not about beauty, it's not even about love, at least, not the kind the world teaches us. There is something deeper, something older, more primal, more untamed, a current, a frequency. A quiet force that doesn't awaken his mind, but his unconscious. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there's any reaction, both are transformed." And some women don't just create a reaction. They create a storm, not one he can control, but one he can't walk away from. In a world obsessed with tactics, with appearances, with trying to be enough, we've forgotten one thing that can't be faked: soul resonance. Real connection doesn't begin with words. It doesn't start with what you give. It begins in the silence, in the shadows, in that part of you you haven't tried to perfect, because it was never meant to be tamed. There are women who enter a room and something shifts, not because they're loud, but because they're present, not because they chase love, but because they've already made peace with their own heart. She doesn't perform. She doesn't plead, she radiates, and somehow, that quiet confidence, it stirs something ancient in the masculine. It's not seduction, not a tactic, not a role she plays. It's a rhythm, a frequency, a sacred kind of chaos that whispers, "You cannot possess me, but if you dare, you might meet yourself through me." Jung called this the anima, the hidden feminine image in every man's psyche, and when a woman mirrors it, not intentionally, but naturally, she doesn't just attract him, she haunts him, she touches the place he's hidden from the world, the boy he's never spoken of, the longing he never named, the loneliness buried under logic, and that's why some women become obsessions, not because they tried harder, but because they simply were more real, more layered, more alive in their own emotional skin. This isn't about becoming someone else, it's about remembering someone you've forgotten, yourself. So in this video, I won't give you tricks, I won't give you rules, I won't ask you to chase love, but I will take you on a journey through 10 layers of feminine energy, each one capable of awakening something ancient in a man, and something even more sacred in you. Some will feel unfamiliar, others like a home you've longed to return to, and by the final layer, you won't just understand what makes a woman unforgettable. You'll begin to see yourself through an entirely new lens. So, take a deep breath, let go of who the world told you to be, and allow your essence, your real, radiant, unfiltered self, to rise. Because the truth is, what truly captivates a man isn't how you fit into his world, it's how, through you, he meets a part of his soul he never knew existed. Stay with me, the journey into the first energy layer. The hidden mirror of the anima begins in just a moment. If this stirred something in your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Hit like, subscribe, and share this with a woman who's ready to remember her power. If you're ready to walk this path, comment below, "I'm ready to awaken." There's something most women don't know, something that could change how you see love, how you see men, how you see yourself. It's not about beauty, it's not about effort, and no, it's not about giving more. Some women leave a mark that never fades, while others, even if they loved with all their heart, become nothing more than a beautiful memory. Why? Because love doesn't remember effort, it remembers energy, not the kind you show, but the kind you are, when no one is watching, when you stop trying to impress, when you stop trying to belong. You see, Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there's any reaction, both are transformed." But some women don't just spark a reaction, they become a storm he can't forget, can't explain, and can't walk away from. In today's world, we've been taught to perform, to be likable, to be chosen, but we've forgotten something sacred, something that can't be learned from a dating coach or found in a script: soul resonance. Because real connection doesn't begin with what you say, or how you look, or how much you give. It begins in silence, in shadows, in the places within you haven't yet tried to polish, because it was never meant to be tamed. There are women who walk into a room and something shifts. Not because they're loud, but because they're present. Not because they're chasing love, but because they've already made peace with being whole. She doesn't need to be chosen, she already chose herself, and that presence, that grounded, radiant stillness, it awakens something ancient inside a man. It's not seduction, not strategy, not charm, it's a frequency, a sacred rhythm that whispers, "You cannot own me, but if you're brave, you might meet your soul through mine." Jung called it the anima, the hidden feminine image, living inside every man, and when a woman unknowingly mirrors that image, she doesn't just attract him, she unravels him. He doesn't fall for her body, he falls into parts of himself he didn't know were waiting to be seen. She touches the boy he's never spoken of, the grief he never named, the longing he never let rise, the loneliness he buried beneath logic, and that's why some women are never forgotten, not because they gave everything, but because they were everything, more real, more grounded, more alive in their own emotional skin. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering someone old, someone sacred, someone you left behind, yourself. So in this video, I won't give you tricks, I won't hand you tactics, but I will take you on a journey through 10 layers of feminine energy that awakens something ancient in a man and something even more divine in you. Some of these layers will feel new, others will feel like home, and by the final one, you may not only understand what makes a woman unforgettable, you may begin to see yourself through a whole new lens. So take a deep breath, let go of who you were taught to be, and allow your essence, your wild, radiant, untamed self, to rise, because what truly captivates a man is not how you fit into his world, it's how, through you, he meets a part of his soul he never knew existed. Headphones, stay with me, the journey into the first feminine energy. The hidden mirror of the anima, that begins in just a moment. If this stirred something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, subscribe, share this with a woman who's ready to remember her power, and if you're ready to walk this path, comment below, "I'm ready to awaken." Let me tell you a truth most people never say out loud. Men don't get addicted to women, they get addicted to how those women make them feel, and that feeling, that ache, that pull, that unforgettable energy, it doesn't come from being sweet, or sexy, or even perfect. It comes from something deeper, something wilder, something unpredictable. It comes from contrast. Emotional contrast. You see, have you ever read a novel so unpredictable that you couldn't put it down? You didn't know what she'd do next. One moment, she's laughing in the rain, the next, she's quiet by the window, lost in a thought you'll never fully reach. That's what emotional contrast feels like to a man who meets a woman alive in her truth. She's not always soft, she's not always fire, she moves like the moon, pulling tides without permission. She doesn't act, she doesn't perform, she simply is. And in that realness, in that wild, untamed presence, he doesn't feel like he's watching a woman, he feels like he's watching life itself. Not a smile on repeat, not a woman who always says yes, but a storm wrapped in velvet, a song with no chorus, a mystery that never ends. But here's the truth, the world teaches women to be liked by being predictable, always kind, always easy, always agreeable. But predictable doesn't stir the soul. Emotional flatness might make you pleasant, but it will never make you unforgettable. What stays in a man's heart isn't perfection, it's presence, it's texture. It's how you made him feel things he forgot how to feel: joy, confusion, stillness, awe. Imagine this: you tease him with laughter, then suddenly, your voice softens, you say something quiet and deep, and the air shifts. He leans in, not because you're louder, but because you're realer. He doesn't know why, but something in him wants more. That shift, from light to shadow, from joy to stillness, activates something ancient in his nervous system: dopamine, curiosity, desire. He thinks it's you, but really, it's how he feels when he's with you. Because you're not the script, you're the plot twist. But let me be clear. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about mood swings or chaos for attention. It's about courage, the courage to live as all of you, to be soft and still carry fire, to love deeply and still say no, to laugh like light and still hold storms inside. You're not too much. You are layered, you are alive, you are art, and in a world full of smiles for approval, real is unforgettable. Psychology says we remember emotionally charged moments more than neutral ones, not because they were perfect, but because they made us feel. The movie that made you cry, the song that cracked you open, the book that mirrored your soul, that's what you become when you stop dimming your light for comfort. So let me ask you, have you ever quieted your depth just to make someone stay? Have you ever edited your truth just to be easier to love? You're not alone. But today, something inside you remembers. You don't have to be palatable to be worthy. You just have to be present. The woman who stays in a man's heart is not the one who was always calm and convenient. It's the one who let him feel life through her presence, joy, longing, uncertainty, truth, all in one breath, all in one soul. He may never find words for it, but he'll remember it, because in your contrast, he finally felt alive. So if you've ever been told you were too emotional, too deep, too changeable, let me say this to your soul: you are not too much. You are the ocean, and the right man, he won't fear your tides, he'll learn how to float. Headphone up next, we explore the third energy of the unforgettable woman: self-mastery, not through control, but through inner wholeness. If this message stirred something inside you, don't keep it hidden, like this video. Share it with a woman who needs to remember her depth, and comment below, I allow myself to be all of me. Because real love doesn't wait for you to shrink, it rises to meet your truth. Let me tell you something, the most magnetic woman in the room is not the loudest, not the one who gives the most, not the one who tries the hardest. She's the one who no longer needs to be chosen to know she's enough. She stands, rooted, even when love walks away. She can fall in love, but never fall apart. She can give her heart, without handing over her soul. She can feel the ache, and still rise the next morning, with grace in her chest and peace in her step. This is emotional self-mastery, and it's one of the most sacred energies a woman can embody. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you had to earn love? Like, if you gave just a little more, were a little more available, a little more easy to love, maybe he would stay? You're not alone. But here's a truth most of us were never taught: when your worth depends on someone else's presence, you'll always feel unsafe, even in love. That's why the most captivating women aren't chasing love, they're already in relationship with themselves. Carl Jung called it individuation, the sacred journey of becoming whole, apart from roles, apart from approval, apart from validation. This isn't about detachment, it's not about being cold, it's about being whole, so whole that love becomes something you choose, not something you beg for. A woman who's done the inner work doesn't need a man to remind her of her value. She wakes up knowing, even with messy hair, even with no text back, even with an open heart and an empty inbox, she still hopes, she still feels, she still loves, but she doesn't hand over the keys to her emotional kingdom just because someone smiled. Why? Because she's built her own world, a rich, soulful, vibrant inner garden, one a man can visit, but never own. Emotional self-mastery isn't about pretending you're fine. It's knowing how to bleed without losing your balance. It's going to the gym when your heart is aching. It's finishing your art even when your phone stays silent. It's lighting a candle on a Friday night. And reading poetry, not because you're lonely, but because your soul feels full in your own company. That's what makes a woman unforgettable, not her beauty, not her availability, not how much she gives away. It's her quiet power, her rooted strength, the way she doesn't need to be completed, because she already came whole. See, in modern love, we confuse closeness with dependency, but dependency is not love. It's anxiety. In disguise, real love begins when you no longer need to be needed, when you can look someone in the eye and say, I want you, but I'll be okay if you walk away. Now that's power, that's the kind of woman. A man doesn't just date, he remembers her long after she's gone, not because she begged to be chosen, but because she stood in her love, unshaken. You want to know what makes a man stay? It's not texting back every 5 minutes. It's not sacrificing your plans for his last-minute whims. It's when you say, I'm not free tonight, but I'd love to see you Saturday. Not out of manipulation, but because you've built a sacred rhythm with your time, your energy, your boundaries. That's not cold, that's captivating, because deep down, a man doesn't fall for the woman who gives everything away. He falls for the woman who honors everything she's become. And here's the paradox: when you stop begging to be chosen, people begin choosing you differently, not because you chased them, but because your presence reminded them of truth. So if you've ever felt like you were too much, giving too much, feeling too much, losing too much, maybe it's time to ask, what would it feel like to come home to yourself, to be the woman who doesn't just survive heartbreak, but alchemizes it? Who doesn't fall into love, but rises with it? Who doesn't need a man to complete her, because she is already whole? Sparkles up next. We explore the next feminine energy, mystery, not the kind you fake, but the kind you protect. And if something stirred in your heart today, comment below. I no longer seek completion. I am already whole. Share this with a woman you love who forgot her quiet power, because the woman who knows herself doesn't beg to be loved, she becomes unforgettable. Let me whisper a truth no one teaches us out loud. You don't have to reveal everything to be deeply desired. In fact, the woman he can't stop thinking about is rarely the one who opened up the fastest. She's the one he never fully figured out, not because she was hiding, but because she was whole, and in her wholeness, she didn't rush to be understood. She didn't hand herself over like a story to be consumed. She invited him to earn the right to stay in a world that shouts, be open, be vulnerable, tell him everything. I want to offer you a radical kind of grace. You don't owe anyone instant access to your soul, your past, your heartbreaks, your sacred longings. These are not shameful secrets, they are treasure, and treasure is protected. Have you ever left a conversation feeling like you gave away too much, too soon? Like someone got a front row seat to your inner world, without ever proving they had a ticket? It leaves you feeling exposed, ungrounded, and often unseen, because mystery isn't a game, it's wisdom, it's discernment. There is something magnetic about a woman who doesn't rush to explain herself. She lets silence hold part of the truth. She smiles, but doesn't spill. She answers, but not completely. She becomes a sacred pause in a noisy world. And in that pause, he leans in, not because she played hard to get, but because his imagination was stirred. Carl Jung called this projection. When we don't fully know someone, we fill in the blanks. With longing, we create stories. We romanticize possibilities. And no, it's not rational, but love rarely is. We don't fall through facts. We fall through wonder. Think about it. Why do we get hooked on great novels? Why do we return to the same movie, the same melody, again and again? Because they didn't give it all away in the first scene. They unfolded. They invited us deeper. They let us feel the thrill of discovery. The same is true in emotional intimacy. Imagine this, he asks, so, what happened in your last relationship? And instead of telling him the whole saga, you smile and say, that's something I share when I feel truly safe, when we've built a little more trust. You weren't cold, you were clear, you weren't guarded, you were graceful, and in that moment, he realized, this isn't a woman he can binge like a TV show. She's a forest, a library, a world. Mystery is not manipulation. It's not withholding out of fear. It's pacing. It's timing. It's the quiet power of self-respect. Because when you reveal everything too soon, you leave nothing left to explore. And where there is no exploration, there can be no devotion. A woman who shares her soul, like a fast-forwarded monologue, gets remembered briefly, but the one who shares slowly, deliberately, soulfully, she becomes a journey, not a destination. So here's the truth, the unforgettable woman isn't the one who said it all on the first night. She's the one who still leaves him wondering, what haven't I seen yet? What does her silence mean? What's waiting behind that stillness? And in that wonder, desire is born. If you've ever been called mysterious, hard to read, distant, let me offer you this. You are not confusing, you are sacred, and only those who stay long enough, quiet enough, present enough, will ever arrive at the center of your soul. So if this stirred something deep inside you, don't shrink, honor it, breathe into it, and comment below, I honor the power of my mystery. Like this video, share it with a woman who's tired of being misunderstood, and remember, you are not here to be decoded, you are here to be experienced. Sparkles up next, we'll explore the next feminine energy, presence. The kind that heals without trying. The kind that makes a man feel seen, the woman who shines. Even when no one's watching, the most magnetic woman in the room isn't the one being chased, or praised, or surrounded. She's the one who's already glowing from within. She doesn't need a stage. She doesn't need a spotlight. She doesn't even need to be seen to feel alive. She's the woman who hums while making tea, who dances in the kitchen with bare feet, who laughs at her own thoughts, and doesn't explain why. She isn't waiting for life to begin. She's already living it, fully, quietly, deeply, and that kind of presence, it's unforgettable. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you smiled just because it felt good, not because someone complimented you, not because you got the message, but because your spirit simply lifted on its own? Most of us forget what that feels like. We were taught to earn joy, to wait for permission, to believe that happiness is more real when someone else witnesses it. But joy doesn't need an audience. Joy is your birthright, your breath, your flame. The woman who captivates a room isn't performing. She's not wondering, do they see me? Because she already sees herself. She finds wonder in little things, a line from a book, a perfect plum, a breeze that feels like a memory from childhood. That kind of woman doesn't need to chase love, because she's already in love with life, self-amusement. That's her secret. Not attention-seeking, not pretending to be fine, just being playful, peaceful, present. When she walks in, men feel something shift. It's not loud, it's not obvious, it's magnetic, because she isn't trying to be chosen. She's already chosen herself. Now I know what you might be thinking, but what if I've forgotten how to feel that? What if the light inside me has gone quiet? Then I say this, gently, start small, smile at your own reflection, sing out loud in the car, take yourself on a walk, just to watch the trees move. You don't have to feel fireworks to be radiant. Sometimes, a single spark is enough to remind you, you're still here, still whole, still capable of joy that asks for no reason. So if you've ever felt too quiet, too weird, too not enough, I want you to remember this. The woman who doesn't need a man to make her feel alive is the one men never forget. Because joy, when it's real, is contagious. And when you become your own source of it, you don't chase love, you invite it, you inspire it, you raise the frequency of any room you enter, simply by being. Sparkles, if this message stirred something in you, comment below. I choose to delight in being me. Like this video, share it with the woman who forgot how vibrant she once was. And remember, you don't need applause to shine, you don't need eyes on you to feel alive. You are the light. And when you burn from within, the world can't help but feel your warmth, the power of full presence, in a world that's loud, distracted, and always rushing. The rarest gift you can offer is not your words, not your beauty, not your brilliance. It's this, your full, quiet presence, just being there, fully, freely, undivided. Let that sink in. Because the most healing experience a man can have is not being impressed, it's being seen, truly, deeply seen. And yet, it's the one thing most people never learn how to give, or how to receive. Think about your last few conversations. Were you fully there? No phone, no mental checklist, no need to relate or fix, just listening, with soft eyes, with steady breath, with space. That is rare, that is magnetic. There's a kind of woman who doesn't interrupt silence, she honors it. She doesn't rush in with answers, she holds space for the truth to reveal itself. And when a man sits across from that kind of woman, he breathes differently, he softens, he lets his guard fall. Maybe for the first time in a long time, he feels this is full presence. It's not loud, it's not performative, but it's unforgettable. Carl Jung once said, being conscious is not just about knowing yourself, it's about being deeply rooted. In the moment you are in, you don't need to speak like a poet, you don't need perfect timing, you don't need to fix his pain, you only need to stay. Let me show you something simple. He walks in and says, work was hell. I think I'm losing it. You don't rush to solve, you don't say, me too. You just breathe. And say, that sounds heavy. I'm here. That moment, he won't forget it, because in your presence, he didn't feel alone. You see, therapy works not just because of techniques, it works because of space and presence. And women, we were made for this. We were built to hold stillness, to offer depth, to hold without smothering. This isn't just about romance, it's how we love our children, our friends, even ourselves, because presence is the difference between being around someone and being with them. And here's the paradox: when you give presence, you also receive it. Your nervous system calms, your energy grounds, your soul breathes. You become the sky, still, wide, alive. And in that stillness, the world finally reveals what chaos tried to drown. So if you've ever wondered what makes a woman unforgettable, it's not how much she talks, it's how deeply she listens. how fully she's there, how safe you feel. Just being near her, that's presence, and it heals in ways words never could. If this stirred something in you, if you're ready to reclaim that sacred stillness within, type in the comments, "I choose to be present with my life." Like this video, share it with a woman who needs this reminder. And never forget, in a world of noise, the woman who brings stillness is the one they always come back to. Strategic scarcity, the power of not always being there. Sometimes, it's not your presence that makes a man fall in love with you. It's your absence, not as a punishment, not as a game, but as proof that your world doesn't orbit around being available. You become unforgettable, not when you're always there, but when your presence feels like a gift, not a given. Let's be clear, this isn't about playing hard to get. It's not about mind games. It's not coldness. It's clarity. Clarity about your worth. Clarity about your energy. Clarity about your rhythm, because when you're always reachable, always saying yes, always adjusting, you become familiar, and familiarity can grow into invisibility. But when your life is full, your presence becomes a moment, not a habit, not a routine. He begins to notice. He wonders, where is she? What is she doing? Why hasn't she replied yet? And the answer is powerful. You are living, you are tending to your joy, you are choosing alignment instead of availability. That is magnetic. Picture this, it's Saturday morning, you've carved out sacred time for yourself. Yoga, coffee, maybe just stillness. Then, a text appears. "Hey, want to hang out this morning?" In the past, you might have dropped everything, said yes, rearranged your day, but now, you pause, you breathe, and you answer with love and boundaries. "I've got plans this morning. I'd love to see you later today if that works." That's not rejection, that's self-respect. You're not unavailable, you're rooted, you're intentional, and he feels it, because men don't respect what they can access endlessly, they respect what they have to rise up to reach. Scarcity, when it's conscious, doesn't create distance, it creates devotion. Let your absence speak, as clearly as your presence, because when he waits for you, when he has to lean in, when he chooses you intentionally, he meets a deeper version of himself in the process, and that is real connection. Here's the truth, you don't have to be endlessly giving to be worthy of love. You don't have to be endlessly available to be kept. You don't have to chase to be chosen. You are not a fire that burns for everyone. You are a flame that flickers for those who make space for its light. So if you've been taught that love means being constantly on call, let me offer you this: your softness is not undone by your silence. Your compassion is not cancelled by your no. Your value isn't measured by how quickly you respond. It's measured by how deeply you honor yourself when no one is watching, and that is unforgettable. So if this message touched something inside you, if you're ready to stop proving and start protecting, comment below. My energy is sacred. Like this video, share it with the woman who forgot that her boundaries are not walls, they are altars. And remember, when your presence becomes rare, your presence becomes precious, and the man who sees that will never take it for granted again. Let him show up. The sacred power of stepping back. Sometimes, a man doesn't bond with you because you give him everything. He bonds when you give him space to offer something real, not because you're helpless, but because you trust him enough to step in. Let's be honest, most of us were raised to believe that love must be earned through effort, through giving, through proving. So you overfunction, you plan, you apologize first, you carry both hearts, yours and his, until you're quietly exhausted and silently resentful. But here's the truth no one told you: the more you do for him, the less space he has to bond. Not because you're too much, but because you leave nothing for him to pour into. Love doesn't deepen when you carry the weight alone, it deepens when you let him carry something too. Because what we invest in, we value. What we build with our own hands, we cherish. And if he never gets the chance to show up, to contribute, to protect, to matter, he slowly fades, he drifts, not because he stopped caring, but because he was never truly invited to participate. So here's the shift. You don't need to stop loving. You don't need to become cold. You simply need to create space, softly, lovingly, intentionally, not to punish, not to pull away, but to let him come closer, by choice. Imagine this. You're tired, burnt out, emotionally raw, and instead of saying, "I'm fine, I've got it," you breathe and whisper, "Today feels heavy, would you hold a piece of it with me?" That moment changes everything, because now he's not watching from the sidelines, he's inside the story with you, not fixing, not saving, just present. And that is intimacy, not admiration, but shared humanity. When you always lead, he doesn't feel useful, he feels invisible. But when you step back, just a little, he gets to step in, and not out of obligation, out of devotion. That's how trust grows. That's how he connects, not just to you, but to the man he wants to become, in your presence. So let him try, let him ask, let him offer, let him fail, and try again. You don't need to script every scene, you don't need to manage every emotion, you just need to allow room for him to rise. Because when he does, not for validation, but for contribution, he stays. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. So ask yourself, what if love isn't about holding more? What if it's about holding less? So there's space for two. What if the strongest version of you isn't the one who does it all, but the one who gently says, "I trust you to show up"? That trust, it awakens something ancient in him. Not ego, but honor, not control, but care, and from that space, real partnership begins. So if this message touched something quiet inside you, if you're ready to stop overextending and start receiving, comment below, "I allow him to show up." Like this video, share it with the woman who always gives, but forgets she's allowed to receive. And remember, when you stop carrying the entire relationship, he finally has room to walk beside you. You are not here to be everything for everyone. You are here to be real, and to be met. The most unforgettable women aren't the ones who always say yes. They're the ones who know exactly when to say no. Not to reject, not to push away, but to honor something sacred, themselves. You see, real feminine power doesn't come from how much you give, it comes from what you protect. And boundaries, real, soul-rooted boundaries, are what protect the woman you've worked so hard to become. We don't talk about this enough, the quiet strength it takes to love deeply and still draw a line no one can cross. Not because you don't care, but because you do. About them and about you. There's a kind of woman who makes a man pause, not because she plays games, but because her energy whispers, "You may be welcome in my heart, but you do not own it." She may give her love, but never at the cost of her soul. She may open wide, but never dissolve. She lets you in, but only if you knock gently, only if you arrive with respect. This is sacred boundary, the line between me and us, where her soul says, "I can love you, and still remain whole." Have you ever said yes, when your whole body was screaming no? Have you ever stayed silent, just to keep the peace? You're not alone. So many women were taught, to keep love, you must lose parts of yourself, to soften your edges, to quiet your truth, to make room, even when there's no room left for you. But here's what most never say, a man doesn't respect what you sacrifice. He respects what you honor. Boundaries don't push love away, they shape it, refine it, strengthen it. They say, softly, clearly, unshakably, if you want to stand beside me, you must rise into the kind of presence my soul can trust. And to the ones who can't, they say, simply, this is not your door to enter. Because here's the truth, a woman who dissolves in love may be adored for a season, but a woman who stands rooted, who knows her lines, who says this part of me is not for negotiation, she becomes unforgettable, not because she's hard to reach, but because her energy says, I am not here to be consumed, I am here to be cherished. When your boundaries are clear, he feels the difference between access and intimacy, between getting your attention and earning your presence. Let me give you an example. You're dating someone new, it's going well, but he starts texting at midnight, no plan. Just hey. The old you might have replied anyway, afraid to seem difficult. Afraid to miss the chance, but now, you breathe, and you respond the next morning, gently, I enjoy hearing from you, but I don't do late night texting unless we've built something real. That one sentence speaks volumes, no drama, no punishment, just clarity. You drew the line between attention and intention. Because a woman with sacred boundaries, she's not unkind, she's clear, she's safe, she's rooted, and in a world of overperforming, overpleasing, overgiving, she becomes a sanctuary, not because she closes her heart, but because she honors its value. So let me ask you, are you ready to love without losing yourself? Are you ready to protect your peace without apology? Then comment below, my love is strong. My boundaries are sacred. Like this video, share it with a woman who's remembering her worth, and never forget, the woman who knows where she ends and where love begins is the woman a man must rise to meet or be left behind in a world addicted to noise. There's something hauntingly beautiful about a woman who speaks in silence. She doesn't chase attention, she doesn't stir chaos just to feel alive, she doesn't burn things down to prove she burns bright, because she knows depth doesn't scream, it listens, it watches, it waits. Today, people confuse drama with passion, jealousy with love, control with care, but the awakened woman, she knows better. Her love doesn't need an audience. Her truth doesn't need permission. Her stillness is her loudest answer. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone whose calmness made your entire body soften, not because they said anything profound, but because their presence was sacred? That is depth. It doesn't try, it just is. You feel it. You breathe differently around it. You want to protect it, even if you don't know why. Because when a woman walks in depth, she no longer reacts to every spark. She doesn't need to be loud to be felt. She doesn't confuse fire with warmth. She's soft, but unshakable. She's quiet, but unforgettable. While the world shouts to be seen, she whispers, and somehow everyone leans in. You see, drama may catch a man's eye, but depth holds his soul. Once he's touched that, he'll never settle for noise again. Let me give you a moment. Imagine tension rising, an argument brewing. He expects a fight, he braces for flames, but instead, you breathe, you pause, and with grace, you say, I care about us too much to keep talking like this. Let's return when we're ready to truly hear. That moment stays with him, not because it was loud, but because it was real. Depth isn't performance, it's presence. It's walking away when needed, but without slamming doors. It's loving fiercely, without losing yourself in the fire. It's knowing, I don't need to explode to express. I don't need chaos to feel seen. I just need truth, and stillness, and soul. And here's the part most people miss. Depth doesn't beg to be chosen, it chooses itself, and in doing so, becomes irresistible. You no longer chase the one who can't meet you, you become the invitation they must rise to accept. So if you've ever been told you're too quiet, too calm, too soft, let me tell you, you are not too little. You are the storm beneath the ocean, and the man who's ready for that will not try to drown you in drama. He will meet you in the stillness. If this message stirred something inside you, if your depth has ever been dismissed or misunderstood, comment below. I choose depth, not drama. Like this video. Share it with a woman who's forgotten her stillness is sacred. And remember, you don't need to be loud to be heard. You just need to be true. True devotion is not desperate, not loud, and never blind. It doesn't beg, it doesn't cling, it doesn't perform. It rises from overflow, not emptiness. A woman who's healed, who's returned home to herself, does not love to be filled. She loves to expand, because love is not a contract, not a transaction, not something you must pass to be chosen. For the awakened woman, love is a sacred expression, a conscious act, a soul offering. She doesn't love out of fear of loneliness. She loves because her spirit has become a garden, and love is how she offers the flowers. Let me ask you, have you ever loved so deeply, you lost yourself, gave and gave, until all that was left was the echo of your own silence? That wasn't devotion, that was depletion. But when a woman loves from wholeness, everything shifts. She no longer chases promises, she no longer clings to reassurance. She no longer fears being left behind, not because she doesn't care, but because she knows, if you truly see me, you won't dare walk away, and if you don't, she won't stop you, because her love is not possession, it is presence. This kind of love is rare. It doesn't scream, it doesn't beg, it doesn't bend itself into who you want her to be, but when a man receives it, he feels like he stepped into something ancient, something sacred, not just into her arms, but into her world, a rhythm, a reverence. Imagine this, she listens. Not to fix, but to feel. She speaks. Not to impress, but to express. She touches. Not to claim, but to connect, and her very presence whispers, you are safe here, but you will never own me. You may walk beside me, but you cannot carry me. I already belong to myself. This is soulful devotion. It is not reckless, not self-erasing, not sacrificial to the point of collapse. It's intentional, it's powerful, and it's freely given, but never handed over. And here's the paradox, she never demands to be chosen. But she is, again and again, by the one who's ready, the man who feels the gravity of her energy, and rises inside it, because he knows, he's not dating a woman, he's entering a universe, and that is what makes her unforgettable. It's not what she gives, it's how deeply she exists, how her love moves through him, like water through stone, not to break, but to soften. So if you've ever been told you're too much, too deep, too tender, too open, let me tell you this, you are not too much, you are sacred, and the world is just remembering how to receive something that pure. Don't close, don't shrink, just become even more intentional, because the one who's meant for you will not just take your love, he will grow inside it. If your heart stirred with this truth, if something ancient in you awakened today, type in the comments, my love is a sacred offering. Like this video. Share it with a woman who gives and forgets she can receive, and always remember, you were never here to love small, you were born to love like a sanctuary, wide, deep, holy, and completely free. Dui de la fin ban de doak toi yu de doc ton tieng, voi kanan, nan man cam suk, nip du tram sao, trian cam, ba dao soang dong hop ly chomwa nip cam suk. The love you were searching for was always you. You don't need to learn how to make someone fall in love with you. You don't need a script. You don't need to perform, because real love, the kind that touches bone, echoes through lifetimes. Doesn't respond to perfection, it responds to truth, and your truth, my love, is not something you invent, it's something you remember. You are not here to become more lovable, you are here to return to your essence, to the wild, the rooted, the radiant woman you already are. She doesn't beg to be seen, she is seen, because her presence can't be ignored. She doesn't ask to be held, because when someone enters her world, they hold their breath, afraid to disturb something sacred. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision becomes clear only when you look into your own heart." And that is what this journey has been, not a how-to, not a performance. Not a manual to win love, but a slow, sacred, returning, back to your heart, back to your soul, back to the forest within, ancient, untamed, unapologetically alive, because the woman who is unforgettable is not the loudest, not the one who gives the most, not the one who sacrifices everything. She is the one who is most herself, and in a world built on imitation, that kind of authenticity becomes unforgettable. She doesn't try to be the center of attention, but somehow, the room shifts when she walks in, not because she wants to be powerful, but because she no longer hides her power, not because she needs to be needed, but because she has made peace with needing no one. To feel whole, she is like an old forest, no signs, no map, no permission required, and yet, everyone who enters her presence feels it. Something holy lives here, something unnamed, but never unfelt. So let me ask you this: what if you stopped running after love, and started walking deeper into yourself? What if you stopped asking, "How do I make him stay?" and started asking, "Where in me have I not yet stayed long enough to hear my own voice?" Because the moment you return, truly return, to your own knowing, you become the love you were chasing, and when that happens, you stop chasing, you become the fire, the mirror, the peace they've been craving, and the storm they can't explain. You are not meant to be possessed, you are meant to be witnessed, to be felt, to be chosen, not for your performance, but for your presence. That's why, you cannot be held like an object, but you will never be forgotten. If this message stirred your soul, comment below, "I am the love I was looking for." Subscribe, share this video with a woman who is done shrinking, because the world doesn't need more perfect women, it needs more real ones, and you, exactly as you are already enough. You are the sacred place love returns to, again and again. Now, if your heart is whispering yes, then maybe you're ready, not to become someone else, but to return to the most radiant, untouched, sacred version of you. Let this be more than just a video, let it be the moment you come home to yourself. Comment below, "I'm ready to return to myself." Because the light you've been searching for was never gone, it's simply been waiting for you.